Thank you very much, Dr. Gwaltney. This guy's amazing, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. All right, so like he said, my name is Grayson, and I'm very privileged to be with you here today. So will y'all pray with me before we get started? Dear Lord, I pray that during this time you just push me out of the way and just speak to these people here, and Lord, just allow us all to leave all of our worries behind, so that we can truly grasp what you want for us today. And I pray this not just for now, but just as a mindset that we can live by. In your name, pray. Amen. All right, so I'm not one to. We're getting right into it. All right, John 8:12 will be the passage today.
Yes, sir.
All right. So John 8:12. Jesus spoke to them. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. I'm gonna read it again. This is Jesus. He's in the temple area. Okay, so he's amidst teaching other teachers of the law. So these people know their text very, very, very well. So the point of this is that what Jesus is saying here, he says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So Jesus has called himself many things throughout his ministry. He's called himself bread of life, good shepherd, the way, the truth, the life, John 3:16. In this passage, he calls himself the light. Okay, the light. In Greek, it's the same word that's used to describe the radiance of the sun. Like it's a brilliance when it peaks over the side of the mountain. You can't even help but just marvel at how amazing it is. So in this passage, Jesus promises us two things. He says, if you follow, you will have. It says, if you follow, you will have the light of life, which this gets kind of confusing, because what is the light of life, right? A lot of times we're like, oh man, Jesus says I'm the light. Like, that's great. But what is light? Because most of the time when Jesus is speaking, he's not speaking in earthly terms, right? We've got to erase everything that we think we know about what Jesus is saying in order to truly grasp the meaning. Okay, so what he's saying is this answer of what is this light? It's found in John 1:4. In John 1:4 it says, in him was life, talking about Jesus, and the life was the light of men. I had to read this 20 times before I finally understood it, okay? In him was life, and the life was the light of men. So what that means is that Jesus' life, that's the light that everybody is looking for, right? So here's Jesus, right? And he's surrounded by all these people who think they know everything about the law. Like they're teaching the law. They don't need to be told what to do. Who's this guy? This carpenter's son comes up and he says, no, I'm the light. I'm the light right here. It's something that he's just trying to say to the Pharisees, like, you don't have to look anymore. Like, I'm here. Like you don't. Well, all this time you've been studying, and you can't even open your eyes to see what's exactly in front of you. It's Matthew 7:7. You don't have to search. Seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. Like you don't have to worry around anymore. You don't have to sit here anxiously being like, oh man, what should I do? Like, I don't know if I'm interpreting this law correctly. Jesus is saying to these Pharisees that are all competing with each other, trying to get the correct philosophy. He's saying, none of that matters. Like, I'm here. I'm here. This is all that you need. I mean, when he's saying these people are claiming to be Christians, but so Christian, it means little Christ. Christian, like I-A-N, that means little. like little version, okay? So we are called to be little Christ, right? So when a lot of times in media and stuff, we'll get caught up, with like the WWJD, like what would Jesus do? But it's biblical. Like a lot of times we just see that as such a common phrase, but instead not for the sake of morality, what would Jesus do? For the sake of God's kingdom, what would Jesus do? So the second thing that he promises us in this passage is he says, whoever follows me will not walk in darkness. Yes, that's right. This is crucial. So when I just gotta ask, and I gotta ask myself too, when was the last time I made God be accountable to his word? I'm not saying putting the word of the Lord your God to the test. I'm talking about you picking up on your end of the deal. Okay? Yes. I'm talking about you going in and faithfully expecting God to follow up on his side of the promise. Like I'm not talking about like just mentioning like, oh man, we're sitting down about to eat the Lord's chicken and Chick-fil-A and dear Lord. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you're trying to go to sleep at night and you can't go to sleep because you're down on your knees and you're like, God, I don't know what to do. And I'm talking about going to war against your earthly self because Jesus tells us that he's not of this world. And if we're to be like Christ, then we can't be of this world either. It's in the world, not of it. It's an issue of faith and trust. Guys, James 5:16, it tells us that the prayer of a righteous person, it has great power in its working. And so, guys, prayer is an amazing thing. We don't realize how influential prayer is in our everyday life today. Back in Moses' time, okay, when Moses was going to encounter God, at Mount Sinai, he walks up, okay, and no one else is allowed to even come close. Like they're like, stand back, like something's about to happen, right? So Moses walks up and he says, he's been given a command from the Lord because the Lord is trying to demonstrate that how powerful he is, and because we can't comprehend because we're in this earthly mindset, like it's crazy. It's crazy. All right. I just got a little story for y'all to tie into the next section. So it was the 4th of July. It was last summer. Me and my friends, we were in Northwest Georgia, and we were having a ball. We had the fireworks going, like boom, boom, like everything. So the next morning we wake up and we go spelunking in this canyon. So it's funny. We woke up late because we forgot there was a time change because we're from Alabama and we're not that smart. And so we get there and we're late for this spelunking. If y'all don't know what spelunking is, it's like cave diving pretty much. You get super muddy, super great. You should try it sometime if you haven't. So we get this whole speech as we get there. They're like, we're going down into this cave, like this dark cave, and we're getting this speech. And everybody's like, don't trash the cave, like take care of the cave and never be alone when you go down in the cave because it's dark down there. Like, and if your flashlight goes out, then it's a bad situation. So we get in there, and we're crawling, and it's getting really dark as we descend. Like you can tell, like the light that's coming in from the top of the cave, you can barely, like as you go deeper and deeper, it's harder and harder to find, right? So you only have your flashlights. So then we get to the bottom of the cave, and the coolest thing. So they said, this is absolute darkness. If we turn off our flashlights right now, like you will not be able to see anything. And we were all like, okay. And so then we actually did it, and like it was terrifying. You couldn't see you couldn't do this and see what was in front of you. And so for like about 5 minutes, we just sat there in complete darkness. And then our guide turns her light back on, right? And it was the weirdest sensation because like this light comes on and you're like because you don't like want to look at it because it's so bright, but like you like want it at the same time because you can't understand like why am my eyes turning away from this thing that's so brilliant and so magnificent. So I want to lead into the next passage I have, which is John 1:5. And John 1:5 says, or I'm gonna start at verse 1 and go to 5, just to get some context. So this is the Apostle John in it's just the gospel account, and so John is trying to explain the relationship between Jesus and the Father. And so he says, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him, nothing was made. But here's the important part. That's a lie. It's all the important part. This is the part I'm going to talk about. Right. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. That's the part we talked about earlier. The 5th verse says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Okay? But I like the different translation of it. I believe it's the ESV. It says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness could not comprehend it. Yeah. So why couldn't the darkness comprehend the light? Like why could we not? Why is it so hard for darkness? Light is shining. There cannot be darkness in the presence of light. So why is there this contrast? And it's because it requires an acceptance of the reality of the situation. You can't hide in you can hide in darkness. You can't hide in the light. People just don't realize this. Like, so this 5th verse, us ministers love it, right? Like, light shines in the darkness, and the darkness could not comprehend it, right? But the thing we realize is that we want this justice and everything, but then we forget to shine the light on ourselves, right? You can't forget that your ministry is to everyone, and that includes yourself. And if you are not shining your light on yourself to help others, who knows? You have this problem somebody else has been going through. My friend Billy back there, he was talking about jumping in the pit with somebody earlier today. Instead of just giving them water, food, like jumping in the pit with them. And so you're withholding another man's potential to understand his struggle and know God better if you're not shining the light on yourself. And so I don't want to be hypocritical here, so I'm just going to share something with y'all. So last semester, I go to Belmont. Okay, it's a university in Nashville. I was coming in. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and so I'm a freshman. I barely have any college credit. I'm living in a different city. I literally knew no one coming in. Okay, all I know is that I'm at Belmont and I'm studying theology because I feel like this is what the Lord is calling me to do. And so this is, let me tell you the most terrible thing ever. I start studying this theology, right? Like I'm trying to prove to myself that God exists. Like I'm like as if I could do that. Like I'd never been farther from God than last semester. Let me just be real with you. Like I was searching. I was looking. I was praying, but I wasn't getting an answer. I was like, God, why? I'm away from all of my friends and all of my like pleasures just so I can. And God says, you're overthinking it, man. Like, I'm right here. You don't have to prove anything to me. So what I'm here to say to you is that a lot of times as pastors, like we unintentionally idolize ourselves, and so we're not perfect. So quit like acting like it. And you know, like people need to see. What people need to see is that there is no perfect man other than Jesus. Because if they think that there's a man perfect other than Jesus, then they'll follow you. They won't be following Jesus. And we need people that want to follow Jesus, not people that want to follow man. In Galatians, Paul says to the churches of Galatia that the missionaries are criticizing him for his way of living. And he says, am I seeking the approval of man, or am I seeking the approval of God? And he says, am I trying to please man? If I were trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. Man, my time is coming short, and it's okay. We'll wrap it up. So I'd like to finish with Matthew 5:14. This is what we are supposed to do. This is the how. Jesus gives us the how. A lot of times it's left up to us to decide what it means, but Jesus gives us the how in Matthew 5:14. He says, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but put it on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who's in heaven." I spent so much time just like using humility as an excuse to not do works for God, because I was like, I don't want any recognition. But what I realized is that I was too immature to realize that you can just give that recognition back to God. When you shine the light on somebody, you can just reflect it. You can just be a mirror, you just try so hard to just show people. Like I said, we need followers of Jesus, not followers of man. So Matthew 6 tells us that if you do these works for earth, then you're going to receive your reward in full in earth. Like that, if that's not the most terrifying thing you've ever heard, then I don't know what is. Like he says, if you want earthly things, I'll give them to you. That's terrifying. You can either go for these earthly things, or you can be a part of the greatest story ever told. You got to get labeled in order to be a light. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. Ephesians tells us that you were once in darkness, but now you're the light of the world. Now live as children of the light. The thing about that is you can't live halfway as children of the light. Like when a light turns on, it's on. And you got to be okay with people saying, "Okay, that's a light." Okay, you got to reflect that glory back to God. But you have to be okay with being labeled as the light. Well, my time's up, so